We are continuing on our weekly Mesillat Yesharim, and we are starting Perek Chet, Bederech Kniat HaZirut, the way to acquire alacrity Zrizut, is really the topic of Perek Chet. This shiur has been dedicated for Refuah Shelema of Rachel Simcha, but Nahid, a full recovery, Be'ezrat Hashem, Amen. Now, we learned about what Zrizut is, and what are the different parts of Zrizut. Now, of course, now that you know it's important, and it's important, you have 40% of society never complete any of the tasks that they start. 25% of people, statistically, they're chronic procrastinators. Right? So this is bad, talking about numbers, and these are, again, maybe fluid to some extent depending on the research, but we know that this is a problem. And even within those, the rest of the 60% of people, everyone has their level of procrastination and not getting done the job properly and accurately as soon as possible. So we know it's important. How do I gain it? How do I work on it? So says the Mesillat Yesharim, Hine ha'emtzaim asher nikne ba'em hazrizut, hem otam asher nikne ba'em hazirut. Says this is to some great degree a mirror image of the midah of zehirut. So many of the ways that zrizut is gained through is equal and identical with the ways that you would acquire zehirut. We mentioned how important it is learning Torah first and foremost. A person that learns Torah, the Torah brings a person to zehirut. The Torah brings you also to zrizut, because zehirut and zrizut are the same. One is in mitzvot aseh, and the other one is in mitzvot lo taseh. Zehirut is to stay away from don't do's, and zrizut is to do the things that you need to do efficiently, do them properly. So that's really the only difference, but in structure, they're really the same. And of course, Mesillat Yesharim mentioned earlier on in Perek Dalit that hitbonenut, thinking about the importance of the avodah that the person is obligated to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu, is one way of acquiring zehirut. And the same is with here. When you know how important something is, when you're handling the importance of it, and the vitality of the keeping the mitzvot properly, that, of course, creates more of urgency to do the mitzvah properly. And Omek Hadin, like the Mesillat Yesharim said over there, the depth of the din of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the judgment that every little detail matters. It's not that HaKadosh Baruch Hu kind of like factors in everything together. Every detail, every little circumstance, everything matters. And he mentioned there as well that a person has to learn about the subject. You want to be careful in Mitzvah, you have to learn about Zirut. You want to be a Zariz, you have to learn about Zrizut. You want to be a good davener, you have to learn about Tefillah. You want to have kavanah in your Tefillah, set aside 5-10 minutes before you come to don't jump into Tefillah. Have 10 minutes before, come early and learn about the chashivut of kavanah in Tefillah. Your Tefillah will be different. So these are all things that we discuss in Perek Dalit earlier on in Zehirut. Copy and paste really over here in Zrizut as well. Umadregotehem kemadregotehem, and their levels are the same way. Also, that you have 3 different levels we discussed for Zehirut, and how people are invoked and inspired to do the right thing, to be careful in Zehirut. Same would be applicable exactly to Zrizut as well. For those who are very smart, for the for the little less than them, and for Hamon Am, those are the categorizations that Mesillat Yesharim did by Zeirut, same applies to Zeirut as well. So therefore, you find that the Mesillat Yesharim does not spend a whole lot of time on this perek. It's only a page and a half, 2 pages long, because all of that is like a ladder that you have to build. Mesillat Yesharim is like a building that the second floor is resting upon the first, and so on. And you cannot really have a second floor without properly having built and secured the first one. Says the Mesillat Yesharim. Because the structure of the both of them is very similar. There's no difference between them. One of them is in positive mitzvot, that's Zerizut, and Zeirut is lavin, the don't do's, the things that you have to stay away and be careful not to do. And when it becomes a reality to a person, and again, becoming a reality is a completely different thing than knowledge. To become emet, it's becoming tangibly real for a person. A person knows that smoking is bad, but he may smoke. A person knows wasting time is bad. You don't get anywhere in life. But people do waste time. A person knows that fire burns your hand. Nobody puts their hand in fire. Because that's not just knows. That's a reality. You will never try it. You'll never do it. It's so real. The pain is real. The fear is real. You know that this is fire. You don't play with fire. That's the difference. People know obesity is bad. Many people know that they have to be on the diet. But honestly, how many people actually get it done? Like close to 0%? Like, it doesn't happen. For the majority. Why? It's not just because we're not disciplined enough. Even those who are disciplined when they want to do something, they still have a hard time because it's not amit, has not become a reality in their mind. And in order to make something a reality, you have to work on it. You have to work on it, constant work, and a checklist basically, a daily cheshbon hanefesh. Am I doing it? Am I doing it? How am I doing today? How did I do yesterday? How am I going to be ready tomorrow? When a person becomes a reality for them, Godel erech mitzvot, 2 things. The value of the mitzvot, verov chovato bahem. Godel erech mitzvot is the value of the mitzvot, even if they were not a mitzvah. Right? If I tell you, you do this and you get $1 billion, it's not a mitzvah. You could do it if you want to. How would you run? It's not because you're commanded to do it. It's because you realize what's at stake. The value, the intrinsic value of every mitzvah. And again, we mentioned any small quantity multiplied by eternity, it will be eternal. So the value of the mitzvot, even if they were not a mitzvah, the rov chovato bahem. The second thing is your obligation in doing them, which means if HaKadosh Baruch Hu would tell you to do them, even if it was not of intrinsic value, it's just Hashem said you should do it. How much obligation would a person have to listen to HaKadosh Baruch Hu? Melech Malchei HaMelachim, the King of all kings, has commanded you to do something, has a meeting with you for tefillah, or waiting for you to go learn. Like the Gemara says in Brachot Avchet. Even if it was not of intrinsic value. But you know who is commanding? And I imagine the combination of both of them. Is that Melech Malchei HaMelachim that commanded you to go and get the $1 billion for free, relatively speaking. You should be running head over heels. Procrastinating. When a person, it becomes a reality, the value of mitzvot. Every time that you say to yourself, or Yitzhara says, tired, I'll ask you. You ask yourself. I'll give you a $5,000 bill. You come to Seder on time. You go to a shiur. You wake up early for shaharit. Whatever it is that's difficult for a person to do. You daven a proper tefillah. You do hesed. You ben adam lechavero. All those things. Keeping the things properly as they should be. Not seeing what you shouldn't see. Seeing those things that you should be seeing. $5,000. That's not a lot of money compared to eternity, but everybody would be running to do the mitzvot. Now, to make that a reality is the job. And on top of it, you have to realize that you're doing the mitzvah of Melech Malchei HaMelachim. And says Mesillat Yesharim, Vadai she'it'orer libo, your heart would be awakened and lifted up, elevated, el ha'avodah. V'lo yitrapeh mimenu, and you would not take it loosely. These two are the two levels of zrizut that he said in the previous chapter, Perek Zayin. Yit'orer libo means you start it, you won't procrastinate. And lo yitrapeh means you won't let it loose until you finish it once you start it. The two levels of zrizut. You will be on top of it like a hawk to finish the job properly, efficiently, as soon as possible. And you will be happy doing it. Now, so this is all identical with zehirut. Now, what's additional to that, says the Mesillat Yesharim, what actually could make this strengthen the feeling of urgency and wanting to do it. Before I read this, let me give you an example. Imagine to yourself a yatom, an orphan boy that was thrown out to the garbage, and he had nothing to eat. He was almost dying, sick, infected. And this person, generous person, took him in, brought him to his own son's room, gave him everything, healed all of these wounds, cleaned all of his body, gave him clothing, fancy, nice, education, money, job, trained him in different language, everything that you could imagine. And he never asked for a thing. And he's just always giving to him. Every opportunity he's there, much more than his own immediate family. He's just giving and giving. And this boy, now a man capable, on top of the world, he is waiting for an opportunity to show his dedication, to show how much he appreciates, how much he loves this person, how much he means to him. And then, Vayhi Hayom, comes a day that this person asks him for something. How do you think he's going to respond? How do you think he's going to do? When he gets that text message, he's going to say, I'll open it tomorrow. Or he reads it and says, I'm tired today. I'll call him back, maybe tomorrow. Will he do that? Never. Never. He's going to be running on his head. Because, I got the opportunity to show my loyalty, to show my appreciation, hakarat tov. After all that he has done for me, you're kidding? I get to show a little something? I'm going to be running. So when a person thinks how much HaKadosh Baruch Hu has given us and continues to give us every moment, I mean, a close family member that passed, unfortunately, at a very young age. And we're involved with her sickness back, forth. Very painful. Going to hospital, coming back, see the decline, see the body not respond. and step by step, during the course of a year and some change, deteriorate. And you go to the hospital, you see different people as part of the pastoral jobs of a Rav or any other community leader, to go see people when they're sick, to be there for them. And you see people who have all kinds of problems. And you start thanking HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I just have somebody that dealt with indirectly, that just went blind. Just over the course of 1 week. Can't see anything. Rahman al-Islam. Right? We all, of course, feel this is very close to home with a tragedy that happened a month ago. Of a family like that. And a person thinks about these things. Say, I'm healthy. I have a family. I have children. I have parents. I have a community. I'm healthy. Baruch Hashem. All of the tovot that HaKadosh Baruch Hu does for people. And we're blessed. Ma'it onen adam chai. A person is alive and well. When a person thinks about those things, histaklut berov hatovot she'HaKadosh Baruch Hu oseh im adam bechol et ubechol sha'ah. To ponder, to think, to pay attention to all the good that HaKadosh Baruch Hu does for a person on day in and day out basis, every day and every hour. והנפלאות הגדולות שעושה עמו מעת הלידה עד היום האחרון, from the moment that we are born. How many things could go wrong in vitro just during the course of a pregnancy and birth, and then from then on, when the kid is a suicide machine and wants to kill itself, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu somehow saves, and you grow and you become a person that's healthy and successful. Somebody actually did this on a Rosh Hashanah once. I wish I had the stats. He said, do you have a shelter over your head and food to eat, something to put in your mouth, and garments to clothe yourself with? It's basic things I say, if you have these things, you're luckier than 85% of humanity. Then the details of each one of these things. You think of, people who are living in, and we don't think about it like that. We only see the next guy that's a little bit better. But when a person thinks about life in that term, the more you think about them, the more you pay attention to these things, and realizing that our life is mamash with nisim, with chesed of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, every moment. You will strengthen in your mind the obligation to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, who has done all these good to you. You feel so indebted to Hashem, who has done all these things. And that's despite, like Rav Moshe Cordovero writes in Tomer Devorah, that's despite the fact that we don't listen to him. We're not perfect, we're very imperfect. And yet he gives, and he gives, and he gives, and he gives. And then, when you know that he has a mitzvah for you, you would want to run to do it, to show a little hakarat hatov, a little respect in return of all the things that HaKadosh Baruch Hu does, to give a little back, little hakarat hatov, little derech eretz. You should not be lazy to start, and you should not procrastinate or be like loose in finishing the job. Because for sure we understand that we cannot give anything to Hashem. What are you going to give to HaKadosh Baruch Hu? We say to Hashem, so everything is yours. And what we give to you is from your own hand. We take from your right pocket, put in your left pocket. It's all HaKadosh Baruch Hu's. We realize we cannot give back to Hashem. And He doesn't need it anyways. But the very least is to be thankful. And when you have an opportunity to do something that you know He wants you to do for yourself, it's not even for Him, it's for you. But you know He wants to do it, you will be running. You will be doing it with such smile on your face, just recognizing that I have the opportunity to show my loyalty to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's a showcase of my feelings of indebtedness. That I love to do whatever I can. The bigger it is, the better. Because I'm showing a little bit more how much I love Him. Can you imagine? Like almost, it's like a person that's engaged. Fresh, newly engaged couples. And they kind of like are waiting to have like a big opportunity to do something. The bigger the thing is that you do, the more you're showing your love and your care and your concern. Now imagine a lifetime of good that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives. You don't have a person, no living being is there, whether he is a poor peddler or is rich, if he is healthy or chas v'shalom inflicted with sickness, that he does not see a lot of tremendous things from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Of course, a rich man, a healthy man, of course he already is indebted for the riches that Hashem has given him, for the health that Hashem has given him. And of course all these things are subjective. When you see really unhealthy people, then the little complaints that you have about your back pain and about the this and about the that, it just fades away. You're even embarrassed to complain when you see what could go wrong. Chas v'shalom. Shelo yiyeh. Even the ani, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is still supporting him. He's getting his parnasa somehow. Derech nes v'pele. Ve'lo man yechol lamut b'ra'av. החולה על שמחזיקו בכובד חוליו ומכותיו, ואינו man יכול לרדת שחת. וכן כל כיוצא בזה. Anything of that nature, you find the good. There is always the half full that a person could find. You know, the Saberet HaOzen, to bring this to some sort of reality, take Rabbi Akiva. He's going with his friends and they pass by the destructions, the rubbles of Kodesh HaKodashim, the Holy of Holies, and they see foxes running out. And every one of his friends start crying, wailing, and they rip their clothes. You see, Bet Kodshenu v'Tifartenu, the Makom of Kodesh Kodashim, Shualim ilchu bo. And Rabbi Akiva is laughing. They say, Akiva, mipnei mata sochek. Why are you laughing? He says, V'atem mipnei matem bochim. Why are you guys crying? He said, what do you mean? Why are we crying? This is Makom of Kodesh HaKodashim, the holiest place on earth. And now Shualim ilchu. He says, I'm laughing because of that. Now, you pause this story, you're like, there's nothing to laugh about. But there is. Because says Rabbi Akiva, until now I didn't know how vivid and realistic are the nevuot of the Nevi'im. But now that I see the prophecy of the destruction is to the T, the words of it are dafka. When it says Shualim ilchu, that's what he means. Literally foxes are walking there. Something that was inconceivable for people. And it's happening. It's not some analogy, some sort of like a homiletic. It's real. So now, says Rabbi Akiva, now I also know that the Nevuah of Zechariah that prophesizes on the rebuilding and flourishing of the community of Yerushalayim. That also is literal. And is a reason to laugh and be. Can you imagine a person like that? Can you imagine a person that his only 3 things was taken away when he was rejected from everywhere? Rabbi Akiva, the Gadol Ador, the one that the Gemara in Masechet Melachot of Kaftet says Moshe Rabbeinu was jealous of him when Hashem showed Rabbi Akiva to Moshe Rabbeinu. Can you imagine? And he goes to a city, he comes tired and frustrated from the travel, and he wants to just sleep somewhere. And he goes door to door, and nobody gives him a place. Can you imagine that? And he says, Gamza Tova. I had a donkey, I had a rooster, he had a lamp. All of them are taken away from him, one by one. And on each one of them says, Baruch Hashem. And the Gemara says, at the end, he realized that the burglary in this village, they killed everyone, burnt everything, and had he had the donkey, it would make noise. Had he had the rooster, had he had the lamp, they would. So all had a good ending. But to be able to see the good in even small things in life, and we all have more than that, but we don't think about the fact that this is from Hashem. Think, of course, Magiali. Of course I have to have. Someone like me should have even much more than this. Something has gone wrong up here. And God's gift to humanity, of course. But when a person humbles himself and realizes, Hashem has given me so much. I don't deserve any of these things. And look at how much I have. Look at how much I have. And you see the good in every aspect of life. Then a person wants to thank Hashem. Right? When a person realizes, Ma ashiv lach. What am I going to give back? Bama kadem Hashem mikaf le'elokei marom. How do I even look at you? I'm embarrassed from all the good that you have given. Right? I'm embarrassed. And I've sinned. You've given so much good. I can't even look up from shame. Oh, you give me an opportunity to do a mitzvah, now I'm going to run. Because I could do at least a little bit. You see how this is connected with Zrizut? You're not going to procrastinate. You're not going to wait. You're not going to take the chance of missing the opportunity. On the contrary, you want to prove yourself and your dedication to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You're going to run. You're going to run. Says the Mesillat Yesharim. There's nobody that doesn't see himself indebted to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. When you ponder, again, the key is we don't think. It just, everything is given. There is so much of the feeling of entitlement, especially in this generation. We're entitled in everything. Entitled in everything. But if a person really thinks that all these things HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't have to any of them, then you want to do tremendous amounts. You know, entitlement is the greatest enemy of humanity. Because you want to do nothing when you're entitled. Yeah, of course you have to give me welfare and this, that, the way some of the communities in the West have been running. Unemployments and COVID packages and this, I have to do nothing. The government owes it. The government owes you nothing. It's Malchut Shel Chesed. But once we grew up in America, once we grew up in Malchut Shel Chesed, the danger of it is you think everything comes to you. But if a person doesn't think like that, you see people who are immigrants from horrible countries. They're so happy. They're so grateful. Because they know what real life is like. And they come here. They have a bounce in their step because they feel invigorated by all the good that exists and they want to succeed. They want to give. They want to do. Especially if you realize that all your success that you want to have in life, all the good that you do have in your life, everything is in the hand of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Things that you need, things that are a necessity for everything is from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. There is nobody else. Sometimes you feel like, there's gavoah mal gavoah, ugvoim al gabehem. There's always higher authorities, higher. Can I speak to your manager? I'll tell your supervisor. But by HaKadosh Baruch Hu, He is where the bucket stops. That's where it is. Everything starts and ends with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He's the ultimate reality that you have to deal with. Everything is from Him and in His hands. So of course, you have to realize that relationship and be vigilant in showing your commitment and dedication. Says the Mesillat Yesharim, now you understand, now you see. So I categorize now the three things that I mentioned in Zehirut. Ki kivar inyanam echad. He says all those three things that a person has to be careful, that he mentioned in Zehirut, he mentioned it over here as well. Because the structure of Zehirut and Zehirut, as we mentioned before, is really the same thing. Va'davar lamed minyano, and you could learn it from one another. Shedeshlemei hadat, that for those people who are extremely wise, their energy and the fact that they will be running to do the mitzvot with zrizut will come from the fact that they realize the value, the intrinsic value of the mitzvot. They don't want to miss any of this. This is tremendous. Right? It's tremendous. I want perfection. If this is worth $1 billion, I want it. I need it. And I'm not going to let loose. No way. That's for people who are high level of understanding. One level lower than that, mitzat ha'olam haba u'chvodo. You want to sit higher up in olam haba. So it's not because intrinsic, but you still you realize, you could imagine that if in this world someone drives a better car and he bothers you, because you could have done it. So kol sheken in olam haba, you want to be up there. You don't want to miss out. You don't want to be embarrassed in Olam Haba, which is the eternal reality of the actual world. And for the regular people, for regular laymen that are not as sophisticated, it would be for Olam Hazeh. Realizing that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has given me so much good, and everything that I want is in His hand, so I'm not going to let loose or procrastinate His avodah. I'm going to do it as soon as possible and do it the best way possible. Right? Some people do nice hadlakat nerot Shabbat or Chanukah because they say, the Gemara in Shabbat says, Chav Gimel, I want to have a good olam haba, a good olam hazeh. Some people say because, this is amazing opportunity to showcase that I really care. So I'm going to get the nicest candelabra, the beautiful menorah, the best fuel, the best wicks, do it the best time, not late, right? For candle. Those two people are completely different in different realities, different planes of existence. But both of them, for different reasons, they want to do the mitzvah right. They don't want to wait, they don't want to delay it. But both of them understand that the mitzvah done properly is the only way to go for as far as the zirizut is concerned. Now, what takes zirizut away from us? Mafsidei zirizut v'archaka mehem. Perek tet. How do we stay away from things that take zirizut away from us? We all want to complete missions in life. We all want to say mission accomplished. We all want to be able to start and complete the goals that we have in life without waste of time, without failing in our missions. How do you go about that? What causes laziness is really the mafsidei hazirizut. והגדול שבכולם הוא בקשת המנוחה הגופנית ושנאת הטורח ואהבת העידונים. The greatest of all of them is when you want to have comfort, seeking comfort, and to just sit and be comfortable and do nothing. Sinat HaTorah, wanting the easy way out, checking the box and being yotze zayin, so to speak, not wanting to actually do the job, having it checked by somebody somehow, the minimum that you do, and get away with. Check in and check out, punch in and punch out. And do the minimum and get away with it. That mindset of atzlut, of hating work. Not like the Mishnah says, Ehov et ha-melacha, usne et ha-rabbanut. Love the work, hate the status. We're exactly the opposite. We love the status, we don't want to work for it. Right? This is the socialist and communist, mentality of the equality of outcome, not wanting to work. It's just government has to give it to me. I don't want to do anything. I just want to be supported. Ve'ahavat ha'idunim, and loving the pleasures and leisures. Be'tashlum kol tenaihem, perfect pleasure. If you're after that, very hard to have zirizut. Especially nowadays, that a person could be doing nothing. They could be doing nothing. A person could have a job that you work a few hours a day, and you have what you need, basically. And the rest of the day you could do nothing. Just entertain yourself with all the methods of entertainment and not get anywhere in life. When you don't want to work, when you want easy route, you don't love the actual process of working, then of course anything that you have to do is achan vei. I have to do this. Right? Versus a person that says, I could accomplish something, I could build something, I could get ahead in life. Lifnei bor'o, even things that you have to do, avodat Hashem. Koved gadol, tremendous weight and burden it would be for him to do anything. A person that wants to eat a proper breakfast and a proper lunch and a proper supper, everything has to be like this and like that and just so. What's left for accomplishment? And he wants to sleep without uninterrupted. And he would not even go somewhere if it's not like, I don't have to be rushed. Don't rush me. I'll go step by step. If you add all these things together, that's his whole day. So what do you do? I sat in Beit Midrash for half an hour. or 3 hours. But in the 3 hours, he sat for 5 minutes. It was too hot, so he went to open the window. He came back. Someone wants to schmooze with him. And then he realized that he didn't take his 5th coffee of the day. He had to do the coffee shop. But then he went to coffee and got stuck schmoozing. Then came back. And then the coffee spilled a little bit, and you have to go clean it. And you get the point. Many people's lives are exactly like that. Instead of packing every second, every minute. I say if you want something done, give it to a busy person. Why? Because a busy person knows how to actually fill up the small pockets of time and accomplish, and he still could do more. I would venture to say there's barely anyone that can't do, I'll take the liberty of saying, can't double their productivity. Very few people who can't double their productivity. And if you could, so then what are you waiting for? Why are you not doing? You know why? Because you want a perfect life. I haven't had my breakfast, just so. And it's not warm. And coffee has to be piping. You get the point. This is what we do in many different ways. Now, not everyone has it with breakfast and lunch and dinner. Some people have it with their car and with their home and with their this and with their relationships. And everything that someone says hurts them. You know, it's like a cotton room we have grown up, and everything that says, like, emotional hemophilia. And you can't function for 2 days afterwards. And 68% of American citizens are semi-depressed. And 29% of them are moderate depression. And 10% almost, they're severely depressed. People had no time to be depressed in previous generations. Because you gotta do those things. No time to think about the imperfections of life. And again, I'm not trying to say that this is not a medical, of course they have to take care of it. And I'm trying to make a point of the fact that we get caught in so much that we expect from life that we have no time to do anything, and we're just sad because we're not accomplishing anything. What percent of people, if you would just walk up to them in the street and say, what did you accomplish today? Will give you an actual list of things. Be my guest. It's a scary world we live in. Sense of entitlement, and then thinking of what's not perfect, and how everything has to be the way. And in the meantime, you're not doing anything, not accomplishing anything. And that destroys the rizut. That destroys it. And people who want perfection, one of the reasons psychologically that people do not finish their projects is they do not want their outcome to be judged. They want their efforts to be judged. So I started this, but I want my outcome to be ranked and judged. So subconsciously they don't want to do it. Because you're thinking too much. But if you would value the thing itself, you would be running, you would be doing it. Says the Mesillat Yesharim. So if you want to eat just so, and sleep just so, and walk just so, and live just so, then can't wake up in the morning to go to Bet Knesset. It's too cold. It's raining, chas v'shalom. It's not 65 degrees. It's dark. It's too early, the shiur, or the tefillah. I went to sleep late last night. I'm going to be staying up tonight. You see, you could have 1,000 different reasons, but all of it comes from the wrong place. Or don't eat for an hour. Right? Again, it's the stories of Gedolim that, in yeshiva you see this also with young budding Talmidei Chachamim. The lunchtime would be an hour and a half, lunch break, and it would be back in 10 minutes. They ate. How much time do you need to eat? You eat quickly. Go back. Back on track, learning, accomplishing. Now, is that for everybody? Maybe not. But you have to see this side of the spectrum to be able to get an idea. A person that is dedicated to accomplishing, he knows the minimum amount of su'udah. He knows the minimum amount of a shower. Because you've got things to do. You're busy. When you value yourself and things that you're doing. Kolshken is not going to run to do a mitzvah or Talmud Torah or to go to learn. And a person that gets used to these lifestyles, he is no longer in control to do what he wants when he wants it. He's too entrenched, too much into the lifestyle in a way that he can't break free from it. It becomes a trap. Because in the beginning but then it becomes a need. Every luxury after 6 months becomes a lifestyle. And once you have a lifestyle, to do less than that, it's going to be so difficult. Imagine a kid that grew up in a family that vacation is going for 2 weeks to the Bahamas, and to to Alps, and to North Pole, and the cruises and 10-star. I tried to tell, for one day we even going to an Airbnb half an hour away. It's got to be fun. They can't even deal with that, because that became lifestyle for them. Anything less than that, it will bother them. Whereas a person that has lived a life of accomplishment, despite whatever comes, that person is bulletproof. You can put them through anything and they'll just, go through it. And despite the circumstances, they will accomplish the goal that they have to accomplish. Chazon Ish writes in one of the most complex parts of the entire Chazon Ish. Is a very difficult sefer to read. Very deep. You really need to be with clear mind and working in the sugya to be able to understand what he writes. And imagine one of the hardest parts of his entire set of Sefarim. He writes in the preface, says, I'm writing this and bullets are flying all over the place. He's in the middle of a war. In a war zone. He's hiding himself behind something, writing Chidushei Torah. Can you imagine that? That's dedication. Take a look at the Tosafot in Masechet Baba Kama, Daf Ayin Zayin, page 77. Long, massive Tosafot. You know where the Baalei Tosafot wrote that? This is a group of Baalei Tosafot that were sentenced to death, to execution. And they wrote that Tosafot, which is one of the Shas Tosfots, involving so many different Masechtas, and it's complex, beyond belief. They wrote that the night before their execution, in dungeon, with their bloods, poking their hands, taking a little thing, writing. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that? That's dedication, but that's zrizut. No way, no procrastination, no excuses. Life goes on. You got to do what you got to do. And it will be what it will be. That mindset will be developed only in a person that does not focus too much on pleasures and on, it has to be like this. And I'm upset. I couldn't sleep last night. So what, you couldn't sleep last night? Life still goes on. Shlomo Orbach, the Rosh Yeshiva of Kol Torah, or the Gdolei HaPoskim and Gdolei HaDor of previous generation. He once went to he was the king of Midot, the guru of interpersonal relationships, tremendous person. I very highly suggest to read his biography. So he once went to one of his Talmidim, he said, we missed you in the shiur. And Talmud said, Shiva, yes, I had a bad headache this morning, I couldn't come. So she said, okay. But he said, I want you to know. He said, I have lived my life with tremendous migraines. So if that was a good reason, excuse, there would be not a day in my life that I would learn. You hear? A Gadol Yisrael, someone that at age 20 he wrote the most complex work on electricity and halakha, but nobody even knew what electricity is back then. Who before his wedding wrote a tremendous work on Shab Shmaitza, one of the deepest things of Torah. He lived with daily migraines, pounding headaches. Or he said to his brother once, he said to his younger brother, says, you were born in the good times. Because by the time you were growing up, we had enough money to have an egg for breakfast and divide it to 4 for each one of the kids to have one piece. Listen to this. The poverty of that. But they did things. They still, life went on, they accomplished. They were highly, highly accomplished people. Because you have people who want excuses and they want everything to be perfect. But the perfection is the greatest enemy of the good. You will never do anything if you want everything to be like that. The realization that life goes on, regardless of what, you still have to go on. You keep on trucking. That's the mindset needed for Zrizut. That's the mindset needed for accomplishment in life. And says the Mesillat Yesharim, if you don't get used to the mindset and the lifestyle of, everything has to be, then you could actually have Zrizut. Because when things come your way, you'll jump to do them, realizing that it has to get done. Regardless if it's raining, if it's snowing, if it's ice, if it's cold, if it's hot, if I'm tired or I'm not tired, if I'm 100% well or I have a runny nose, I'm going to do it. Because life goes on. And I don't need a whole lot to operate. That mindset is a mindset that the first and foremost thing needed for Zrizut and for Zirut, for all those things. And Be'ezrat Hashem will continue this in the days to come. Thank you.